Uh, t- Today, our focus is on building resiliency through gratitude by using gratitude. And our focus for the month of November is gratitude for a healthier brain, where we are going to train the brain and heart to see the good in our daily lives. We're going to emphasize that later on in the session, but I just wanted to start with a warm up to see where are we? Where are we for so far for the year um, regarding using the brain health exercises. So, if you don't mind, if you're comfortable, you can unmute, or if not, you can write in the chat. Where you could, here's my question that I want you to respond to in the chat, or you can unmute and answer. Um, on average, right? How many days on average are you using any one of the brain health exercises, whether it is writing by hand, reading aloud, or doing simple math? How many days on average are you practicing these exercises? Greg, I see your hand, Greg. Go ahead.
You saw my hand because that's great. I haven't been on here for a couple
I
months.
know we miss you.
I miss you too. So I will say that at least 3 days a week, I do journaling and reading out loud. I'm probably a little bit of a laggard with the mathematics, even though I think it's pretty easy. But I think working full time, that gives my brain also a workout. So I feel like maybe I don't need to do all the days of the week, the three steps.
Okay.
Am I right in that, or there's no right or wrong, or how does that work?
Well, I would say all three, that's best, right? That's what we're aiming for. But one is better than none. So if you're
Right.
engaging, if you're doing 3 days, it's better than 0 days. But I think 5 to 7 days is ideal. But it's none is better. One is better than none. So I will say good job.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I think I saw some responses in the chat. Rhonda, 6 to 7 days a week, Rhonda. Bravo.
She's retired.
Carol is daily. Anna, 6 days a month, 6 days. Danielle, 4 to 6 days. Alberta, 3 to 4 days. For me, it's average, I would say 5 days a week. I kind of take the weekend off because I'm sleeping in and just my routine is a little different on the weekend. So I'm glad to hear that we're still engaging, even though we don't have a 12-week program running online, that you're still motivated and keeping those practices going. So for the November, like I mentioned as we start, our focus is on gratitude, building resiliency through gratitude, where we train our brain and heart to see the good in everyday life, even if in times of uncertainty, that we can still have gratitude. And so I want you to pay attention to that or look for the announcements of these not the tools, but the gratitude themed videos that will be posted in November. We've already had two. Have any of you seen the videos? Are you engaging with those videos? If you have, please show by raising your hand. If you've seen them, Rhonda has. Very good. I have. Good. So keep engaging with them. Today was day two. Look forward to day three, all the way to 30 days, right? We're doing it every day in November. So keep that in mind. Exciting things. So before we get into November, Dr. Woods is gonna focus on that. For those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Murray, and I am one of the board members of Resilient Health Communities. And this month, our focus is, like I said, on gratitude. But I just wanted to recap what we covered in October. In October, our focus was building resiliency through forgiveness. And another great thing that happened in October was we had our math exercises online. And I have to testify to that. I traveled in October and those math exercises came in really handy. I didn't have to walk my heavy book. as the workbook. I was able to get online, see the mat exercises, and practice them. So go to our YouTube channel and find those mat exercises so you can engage with them. But in October, in addition to that, our main focus in October was on forgiveness. And we had a really nice discussion with Erwin Laria from the Restorative Voice Network. And I don't know if any of you saw that broadcast. It was posted on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, please go and check it out. Um, so I just wanted to recap what we learned in that session. And I'm very happy to have Owen with us here this evening to help us recap what we've done, what we covered. So we started by looking at, in that discussion, we talked about what forgiveness is and what it's not, right? And what I took away from it is that forgiveness is a process. It's not something that happens immediately. It's a process, it takes time. Forgiveness is a releasing of the individual or circumstance that causes you to feel angst. So it's a way of it's a method of releasing that. Erwin, can you add some more to that, please? What is forgiveness? Can you be very clear what forgiveness is and what it's not?
Well, good evening. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here. I hope you all are doing well. I want to say thank you to Dr. Marlene, actually to the entire team, the Resilient Health Communities, for inviting me on to share my journey as forgiveness is using the tool to protect my own mental health and my own brain health, because mental health and brain health are used synonymously. So rather than say what forgiveness is, forgiveness first and foremost is it's a choice, and it's also a process, and it's also remembering what has happened to you differently. And the reason why we're doing it differently is that we are at the place where we do not want to carry the pain of the associated with the memory of stuff. So that's really what forgiveness is. Check out the video. I'm sure it's available to give you a better perspective of what's going on. Okay. And we gave some tools, but I'll leave that to Dr. Marlene to share.
Yes, one of the tools we talked about on that podcast was reframing the past. And Owen mentioned how we can look at individuals, the perpetrator of our harm, how we can look at that individual in a more three-dimensional way instead of looking at them as a 100% evil person, but realize that that person is human and there are multi dimensions to them, and there may even be some good in that individual. So that's one way of reframing the past. So we talked about that. Talked about reframing the event. Erwin, can you speak to that? How do we reframe the event?
Well, in reality, so here, reframing the past essentially is looking at the event in such a way that causes us to see more than what we originally saw. When we become a victim of someone's harm, what actually goes on is that we are like this. I hope you can see me in the camera. We're almost wearing blinders or blinkers, as people would say, what the horse wears these to protect themselves. Okay. And then what we do is everything is going on in that very small space, and it's going hard, and it's almost as if we're running at 100 miles an hour trying to catch up with everything. But as we reframe the past, and I'm only touching on a couple of things right now, but number one, when we do this, when we're like this, we are literally having tunnel vision. We don't notice anything good, bad, or indifferent. But as we reframe the past, we widen the picture, and we actually begin to see really some of what is going on around us. Number one, and this is the one thing I really want to emphasize, is that the person who has done to you whatever they've done to you. Now, I want to be clear. This is not about letting anyone off the hook. Forgiveness is not about letting anyone off the hook. What we are doing is taking ourselves off the hook, and we're releasing ourselves from the person or individuals or even the circumstances that have caused us to be in that very negative mindset. Okay. So as we do this, we start to see. And here's one of the things that I keep at the back of my mind because I've got a lot of, as I call it, razor wire stories, and a lot of things have happened to me, and I'm sure many of us have. But what I do is I look for the empathy, and I develop empathy for simply one reason. I too need forgiveness. Yesterday, we did a short 90-minute session on forgiveness as medicine. And what I realized so much yesterday was that as we navigate the process of forgiveness, we need to be so aware of ourselves and others so that we do not hold on to the bitterness and remain tied to those who have caused us harm. And this whole forgiveness thing it's a I wish I could explain it to you in 5 minutes, but Dr. Marlene,
You
is it
can't. Can't be
all I
explained
can
in
say
five
is this.
minutes.
This is one thing I'll say to you. Many individuals who consider themselves or want to be forgiving and don't feel as if they're forgiving, I want to give you hope. As you forgive, your feelings will catch up as your body and your thinking changes. The
Mhm.
feelings will not be there immediately. They may take a very long time, but they will catch up. And as the joy for living emerges in you, then others are going to say, well, whatever it is that you have, I want a piece of that. Can you show me?
Right.
So, yeah,
Very good. It sounds like we behave our way into the feeling, right? So
partially.
yeah,
You
you
think
may
our
not
way into
feel
the
you, or
feeling.
you think
You
your way
think
into
your
the
way into the
feeling,
feeling.
but it starts
Yes.
with the choice. You have to make the
You
choice
got
to
to
do
make the
that.
choice.
And so
Forgiveness is primarily a choice.
if this has piqued your interest in any way, please go listen to the YouTube podcast. We got much more in depth with that discussion, and also we did leave you with a bit of a cliffhanger in that podcast, which we would like to continue in a live session sometime this month. We will announce that to you so you will know when we have that live session and you can join us to hear additional tools that can be used, including writing a letter that you will never send. Um,
Hmm.
the letter that never gets sent,
Yep.
writing that letter and how that can help in one of the tools that can be used in forgiveness. And
Yes.
why is it important to forgive? In addition to the biblical mandate, there's some physical benefits to
Oh,
forgiving, like lowering our cortisol levels. And we know cortisol is that stress hormone that has its place, but too much of it can yield havoc in our bodies, both
correct.
cardiovascularly and also metabolically. So please take some time, listen to the recording, and please join. If you haven't joined our community as yet online, that is our YouTube channel or Facebook group, please do so that you can know when the live session is coming up. Okay? So that is all I have for today, and I will turn the floor over to Dr. Woods as we learn about gratitude, our focus for the month of November.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Marlene, and thank you so much, Erwin, for sharing the forgiveness tools that you've started to share with us. I want to start off this first Sunday session by saying I have a lot of gratitude for what you've shared so far, and I can see how it's useful in my life, and I'm sure in many of the lives of the members of our community. So thank you for sharing what you've shared so far, and I look forward to hearing some more. We can all learn how to forgive a little bit better. Sometimes we think we know how, and it's helpful to know that there are tiers to this, and we can always improve our forgiveness. And so let's talk about building resilience with gratitude. And as Marlene mentioned, today is day 2 of our 30 days of gratitude. I hope you guys have been tuning in as members of our community have shared some gratitude nuggets, and also they've shared some prompts to help you with the gratitude practice. And just a little bit from my experience, there was a time in my own life when I was struggling with loss and grief and overwhelm. And it was not a particularly productive time in my life, I would say. It just wasn't, let me just say, it just was not pretty. And I was encouraged to start listing what I was grateful for. And it completely transformed my life. I would go so far as to say that it literally saved my life. And so I continue that practice to this day. And this month, where the emphasis is on gratitude, the month of November is one I look forward to every year because it highlights this practice that I've created for myself. And so as we start off this 30 days of gratitude, when yesterday Mr. Munjan said that the practice in gratitude is transformative, I wholeheartedly agree. And then again, in today's video, Darlene said gratitude rewires the brain. Well, I feel I can testify from my own personal experience. And so this month, we're inviting you to go on a gratitude journey with us and reap the benefits for yourself. You will see that if you practice the daily gratitude, that your life will be transformed. And I actually would suggest that you take some kind of inventory, maybe just note how you're feeling at the beginning of the month. And then toward the end of the month or at the end of the month, um, write how you're feeling. Write how you're feeling mentally, emotionally, physically, socially, and spiritually. I can almost guarantee that they say there are no absolutes, but I can guarantee if I were a betting woman, I would say that I bet that you will see significant improvement in all of these areas. And for those of you who have been on this journey with us this year, you know that this year we've been focusing here at Resilient Health Communities on building resilience. And we have talked in the past about the benefits of gratitude, how when people practice gratitude, there are studies that show that the area of the brain that's responsible for our executive function, all our higher thoughts and planning, that's called our prefrontal cortex. We've talked about studies that show how that area lights up when you do like a PET scan for people who are in a testing environment. We also know that we are multidimensional beings. We need to be well-rounded. We need to be whole individuals. And that means doing activities that positively impact us on a whole. It means that we care for our entire beings. And I would dare say that I don't think there's anyone here who would be surprised in learning or in hearing me say that practicing gratitude impacts our mental well-being, our emotional well-being, physical, social, and spiritual. Is there anyone who perhaps have a different thought about that? That's really a rhetorical question. I just wanted to see if it we do like to be interactive, but I wasn't expecting anyone to disagree with me. So that was kind of rhetorical. So, but I would like if someone would share how you think gratitude affects affects us, our our mental well-being, our emotional well-being, physical, social, or spiritual. Anyone share how you think gratitude affects us? Greg, I see your hand. Go ahead, Greg.
I think for me, it makes me feel like I'm a better person. I'm a better adult, and I rise up above somebody taking the low road, whether they know it or not. And a lot of times people know it if they say something to you that's not overly flattering or out of, jealousy or whatever their feelings are. So I think if you take the high road, you're making yourself feel better and you're rising above that comment. And so you can actually think that you're growing yourself if before you've said something back negatively and now you're rising above it and you think differently. So I think it makes you feel like, and I think you are a better person.
Okay. So Greg, you without saying it, you've touched on several other areas. So I'm hearing that I'm hearing the mental part. I heard you mention growth and growing as a person. I also heard you mention you referenced emotional well-being as well, and also social. So you touched in all of them as you talked about someone rising up and doing being better and doing better. So thank you for sharing that, Greg. Is there anyone else? We'll take one more person. And if I don't see your hand, just go ahead and unmute and you can speak up.
I think, Dr. C, it goes back to something you said a few months ago, just how many of our thoughts each day are negative and how much we worry about things that don't occur. And so pausing to reflect on gratitude reframes that. And it's what I enjoy about the practice. So, like you, I love November too for that reason. Is that too often we ruminate on the things that aren't working, the problems we have to solve, the issues in our lives, and don't pause to appreciate the good enough.
Okay, thank you for that, Rhonda. And you again touched on several other aspects. I can pull out definitely that emotional part where when you're practicing gratitude, you're not focused on the negative. I also hear in that the physical aspect as well. If we're not worrying so much, if we're not as anxious, then that affects how we feel physically. I love how Danielle mentioned that when we focus on gratitude, that we sleep better. So that impacts our physical well-being. So thank you both for sharing that. And just quickly, I'll delineate in a more specific manner some of the benefits of gratitude in each of these dimensions of our lives. So when we practice gratitude, the way it benefits our mental resilience is it creates more clarity, it creates better focus, and also it helps us with adaptability. Remember that when we talk about resilience, we talk about being flexible, we talk about being adaptable, and we also talk about wanting to learn. So, wanting to be a lifelong learner, all of these things are part of being resilient. And when we practice gratitude, we don't feel stuck in our situation. We actually start to shift to problem solving, which helps to foster a growth mindset. Not to mention that it just improves our cognitive function. And In terms of our emotional resilience, our emotional health, we've touched on this, right? When we practice gratitude, we're regulating our own emotions. So there are some people who struggle with emotional stability. And one of the ways to deal with that is a gratitude practice where you're not focused on the negative. And I saw your comment, Greg, which is focusing on the negative and holding a lot of things in. So practicing gratitude shifts our focus and it boosts our positive emotions. Also increases our self-compassion. And we talked about this a couple months ago, how having self-compassion is an important part of being resilient because when things happen, when you feel that perhaps you didn't quite hit the mark, you have to having self-compassion helps propel you forward and doesn't keep you stuck in those ruminating thoughts about just what a terrible person you are because you made a mistake, right? Focusing on the fact that you are human and that you will make mistakes, that's part of the self-compassion piece. We touched on the physical, just how it feels in our body when we're not worried and anxious because we're focusing on gratitude, we're focusing on what's positive, that we sleep better, we have reduced stress, there's less inflammation in our body. And I tell people all the time, I'm always amazed at how powerful our mind is, how powerful the thoughts that we think are. The brain doesn't really know the difference between what we're thinking and what our reality is. So it's helpful to think positive thoughts. And social resilience. Part of the mission of resilient health communities is creating that social connection, safeguarding that social connection so that we don't become isolated. Because our brain health diminishes when we're isolated. And so if you are in conflict with someone, if you're seeing someone in your life in a negative light, trying to reframe your experience with that person, see that person differently, that helps to foster a greater sense of closeness. And this is where that forgiveness part comes in. So I'm grateful to Erwin and Marlene for leading these discussions in this last couple of weeks because forgiveness is key to maintaining our social connections. And I'm not just talking about the big stuff, right? Talking about the little stuff that sometimes we find hard to forgive. Someone hurts our feelings by mistake, right? They didn't intend to do it, but we see it as a deliberate act and we hold on to it. And it changes our interactions with that person and it creates separation. And there we are, isolated from this person that we say we love, but we don't know how to reframe what's happened to us. And we haven't yet learned the tool of perhaps writing this letter that we never mail to this individual. And so to create a greater sense of clarity around the experience. And finally, spiritual. We know that when we focus on gratitude, if you are a believer, then that fosters a greater connection to God. But if you practice other ways of being spiritual, whether it's just finding a purpose, whether it's just appreciating nature, all of these things help deepen our spiritual experience on earth. And so gratitude is both a lens and a practice. It doesn't mean that we're denying pain or hardship. It means that we're just looking at it through a different set of lenses. We're looking at it with a different perspective. It's about how we relate to what has occurred. And so I'm looking forward to this entire month of gratitude prompts where we're going a little bit deeper and we're reflecting on specific aspects of gratitude as we're looking to transform ourselves while building resilience in all areas of our lives. And when you incorporate a gratitude practice into your daily life, you're cultivating resilience amongst all the dimensions of our lives. And so this is something I'm eagerly looking forward to. I've been anticipating it because we've been planning it for a while. And I'm hoping that it will benefit each of you as much as I believe it will if you actually practice it and do the exercises. And so each time we meet for First Sunday, we do a journal prompt. So we're going to transition to doing our journal prompt. We have 5 minutes. And just as we're moving into a season of gift giving and receiving, keeping in mind that we're in an environment where the dollar does not stretch as far. People are being asked to work without pay. Some people are losing their jobs. I want us to focus not just on the physical or material gifts. I want us to shift our focus to people because it's the people in our lives that really bring the deepest meaning, and they are the special gifts. So, in our prompt today, I want you to write a list of 5 people that you're grateful for in this season of your life and why. The prompt is coming on the screen. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Rhonda. So I'm going to start the timer now, and we have 5 minutes. winding down. Another few seconds. All right. Okay, we got a little bit more than 5 minutes. So I'm grateful for Grace, thankful to Rhonda for being a little generous with us this afternoon. So let's talk about 5 people that you're grateful for in this season of your life. I'm curious who wants to share. Tell us about who made the list. And also, you can share about how the exercise impacted you. Okay, Danielle, I see your hand is raised. Go right ahead.
Okay, I'd like to start. I have a dear friend, Elaine. She's also the godmother of my daughter. She and her husband are godparents. But when my marriage was breaking up, they were so welcoming to really invite us to come and stay with them. And I thought we were going to probably be there for about maybe a week or two as I was getting myself together. We were there for 2.5 years. And while they have been a blessing to me, she said, but Danielle, you don't understand. You were also a blessing. So as an only child, uh, yeah, I don't have sisters and brothers, but my friends, I've been blessed with dear friends throughout my life. And I have friends from when, as a little girl, I have friends, we've been friends for over 70 years. So I can list so many of them, but I call out my friends and I call out my family, just saying that I am blessed. No matter what I'm going through, I really believe that God is going to help me get through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. And God uses people.
Yes.
And that's why community is so important.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Who else wants to share? Share about who made your list and how the exercise impacted you.
I don't know how to find my hand.
Oh, just go ahead, Shirley.
Who made my list is God. In this season of my life, I'm first thankful for a God who loves me and cares for me and supplies my needs. Second, my children. Each one is unique, and which I'm thankful for who they are and what they mean to me. More, I'm also thankful for my church family, who I can share how I feel, and they encourage me. I also have some prayer partners who encourage me and pray for me. And then I have a walking partner. When I'm tempted not to walk, encourages me and pushes me a little further. I'm thankful for
Awesome.
my friends, especially my old school friends, who we can reminisce about the past and what is happening in our lives today.
Thank you for sharing that, Shirley. Greg, I see your hand.
Yeah, I will say the first person that I'd like to recognize is God Himself. I've had several moments in my life that I could have died, and God decided it wasn't my time. So I really feel appreciative of the relationship, the warmth, and the security of that. So when my time is up, I'm not worried about it or afraid. I know I'll go on to something new and be successful at that too. So I view it a little bit differently since I was so close to death at one time. Um, I will have to also name my parents, my sister, and my two brothers. We're military family. We were always moving, so we're very close to each other. And so my brother has Alzheimer's, and I feel the need to help and do as much as I can for him while he's still around. And I think his time is very, very valuable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg. Anyone else?
I'll share something on my list, and that is I looked at the question, the part of the question about this season, and this season has been really transformative for me. I planned to retire in 2025. It's been on the agenda for years. I turned 60 in June and I was done at June. That was the plan. But at the beginning of the year, I started a journey with W.S. Snell, Pastor Snell, who had a 21-day series on a book he wrote titled Leap Year. And making it a leap year meant really effectively leaning into your assignment, being focused on it, and just prioritizing prayer, the word, and stepping out on faith is how I saw it, right? So I had that commitment, and sitting on this side of the experience, it's November with 1 month to go, right? I could tell you it's been a leap year. So I'm grateful to Pastor Snell because he made the word so relatable that I really felt empowered to be transformative. And what that did is instead of June, I was out of work in February. I was done and retired in February because I was attentive and ready to not just close my eyes on opportunities, but to evaluate them. The second person that's been transformative in this season, because I've been thinking of that transition from work to retirement and wanted to make sure it was as meaningful as possible, is actually Arthur Brooks, a professor at Harvard who teaches and speaks on the science of happiness. That combined with Pastor Snell's work has been amazing. That's my secret sauce this year. Arthur Brooks, Pastor Snell. But I also have on my list, I have my parents. And I went a generation from my parents to a grandparent. I should say grandparents, but particularly I thought of my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, who had the vision to sacrifice all those years ago, over 100 years ago, to purchase land that I have seen now shelter, provide a home to four generation of descendants. I wish I could talk to him about what that sacrifice meant for him and the vision he had, because I look at what has happened since then, and I know it had to be very sacrificial. What an amazing testament to what we could achieve with foresight. That's my list.
An awesome list, Rhonda. Thank you for sharing that.
Wonderful.
All right, we got one or two more. And if I don't see a hand, I'll share a couple on my list. Okay, Marlene, go ahead. You're muted.
Okay, I'll summarize. I started off by listing first my husband, George. I'm grateful that, for his love and unconditional love and how he loves me, but I'm also grateful for him modeling patience. I'm not a patient person, but seeing him be patient with others and just but modeling that patience has inspired me to become to strive for being more patient. I'm grateful to my mom for the sacrifices she's made to help me achieve where I am today. I'm grateful for my brothers for their love and care in their different and unique ways. And I know that I can depend on them come what may, come what may. I'm grateful for my cousin Yvonne and her wise counsel and care that she has measured out to me, especially in times, in very, very dark times. She has been there, and I will be and I am forever grateful for that. And I'm also grateful for a friend I have in Canada, Eden, who's always been there, always ready to listen, despite the time difference. She's always there. Even in some dark times when my sister was passing, I was able to speak to her every morning, and it helped me. Um, it gave me a bit of a distraction to deal with the grief. So those are my five or six.
All right. Anyone else before I jump in? I don't want to take anybody's turn. I may not be able to see you, so you can just start speaking. Okay. All right. So okay, I thought I heard someone. Go ahead.
I was about to speak. I'm driving, so I can't really show my face per se, but I wanted to say this is Denise Williams. I wanted to say that I'm grateful to God because within the last 3 months, I had to have major surgery. And every time I thought things were going one way, it turned around to something else. But I'm grateful to God that He placed people in my life that when I needed something, they were able to be there to provide. I had one particular friend who would call me. Her name is Yvonne. She would call me every day. Are you okay? Do you need anything? And I'm funny to say this, but I'm also grateful to certain apps. We may say technology is not what it should be, but sometimes technology works. I can say that because I learned to use DoorDash because I couldn't stand because I had knee replacement. And I learned to use DoorDash to get my meals because I couldn't stand to prepare my meals. And being out here in California, it was kind of difficult to ask my son to come out and stay with me, knowing he had his family and what his obligations were. But I say that to say this sometimes technology works because when I needed it, I got my meals, whatever I wanted. And most of all, I am grateful that God is still in the healing business, still in the forgiving business. And I'm grateful that looking back where I was the end of August to where I am now, I can see progress. And Rhonda, I am right behind you with that retirement thing. So don't think you're the only one. But I thank you guys for the opportunity because when you say it takes a village, I experienced the village helping me during my recuperation period. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Denise. You snuck right in there. Before I turn it over to Rhonda, I just want to say thank you all for sharing. I think you all, the stories you shared just exemplified how important community is and how important it is for us to be intentional on building resilience in the social aspect of our lives because it's important. It's important. And as we embark on this month of gratitude, and building resilience through gratitude. I hope you all are transformed in a way that you could never have imagined. And with that, I'll say thank you and turn it over to Rhonda.